up, you guys? The Curious Owl here, and today I have my December wrap-up. So December flew by so quickly for me. I don't know if it was anyone else. It also didn't feel like it was Christmas time. I feel like a lot of people have been saying that, where like Christmas and New Year's feel like they were just other days, nothing special. But I did end up reading 3 books in the month of December that all were 5 stars, which was absolutely insane. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I did. I also did, though, start another book in the month of December that I'm going to be continuing in January because it is part of a buddy read that my sister, my mom, and I had all started, which is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Don't really know how much of it I'm going to get done in like the first few days of January, but we at least got started with it, so there's that. But as far as my page and minute counts for the month, I had 781 pages read and 10 hours, 55 minutes, and 5 seconds worth of audiobooks. One of the books I read was physical, one was ebook, and the other was audiobook. And 2 of the books I read were from my personal library, and the other one was borrowed from my library. And like I said, all 3 of the books I read were 5 stars, so let's get into it. So the first book I ended up finishing in December was an indie fantasy, which was called Psychotic by Elle Lincoln. This was initially a book I started back in like October because it was one of my TikTok reads I wanted to do with it, and I absolutely loved it. It was actually way cooler than I thought it was going to be. It's all about this woman who is essentially like a secret witch, and she is involved in the underworld, like of this world. Like, it's an urban fantasy. She is tasked with then opening up a bar that her friends had that basically makes her this peacekeeper of all of the creatures in the other worlds, all that stuff. And she's also working with her best friend, who is a mortal, who is like an investigator of paranormal activity kind of things. And there's some crazy things that go on, and they get involved with this demon guy who is extremely dark, mysterious, you know, the type. There's a lot that goes on in this book. It's kind of hard to like pinpoint what exactly the plot is because there's so many different like little subplots that kind of go on. But I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed that this story felt like it was a longer piece than it actually was. It was not quite 400 pages worth of material, but it felt like it was a fully fledged, like nearly 500 page novel. Like, that's the way that everything was developed, and the way that the story was constructed and built on was so fascinating, and it made it so that this book felt longer than it was in a good way, as opposed to like feeling like it took forever. The next book I read that was a 5-star was my N.K. Jemisin read for the month of December, our final read for the read-along of 2023, and that was The World We Make, the second book in the Great Cities duology. I think I loved this one more than the first book, to be completely honest. This is a really, really awesome second book in a series. I think that the way that it picks up off of book 1 is done really well, and while the ending is a little bit more open-ended than I think I would be normally comfortable with, I think that it works really well, and I really just enjoyed my entire time reading this. I think that I enjoyed the time reading this, like I said, more than The City We Became, even though I loved The City We Became so much. I think that this one, just for some reason, tops it because of its brevity, but also its impactfulness within its brevity, and it just for some reason hits a little bit harder in this one than it did The City We Became. And then finally, the last book that I read, but that was my other 5-star for the month, was Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This was the Octavia E. Butler read for the month of December. This is a little bit more on a sci-fi kind of historical fiction side because essentially you have a character who is transported back in time to the 19th century Maryland of the United States, and she gets involved with a white man who is named Rufus from when he's a small child, and she kind of is like his protector of sorts. It's not really clear as to like why she is specifically drawn to him, other than the fact that he somehow is part of her lineage, part of her family tree in some capacity, and so it's really important for her to make sure he stays alive as much as possible to, you know, bring about the people that are going to essentially be her forefathers, if that makes sense. I think one of the biggest things it talks about is this idea of, you know, learned helplessness in a sense where when somebody is living in a time and in an environment where hatred just brews and stews and perpetuates itself, is it possible for somebody to then, you know, have their mind change, and I think in a lot of ways have themselves look at things in a different way than how they were oriented growing up. And this is an exploration on how it's possible and how for some people it's just not possible. Without further ado, those are the books I read in the course of December. Like I said, it wasn't very much, but I'm glad with what I did read because all 3 of the books were 5 out of 5 stars. I'm very happy for that. That was a great way to end the year of 2023 for me. I'm excited to see how 2024 goes. I'm hoping that I can get through a lot more things. But yeah, so let me know what you guys ended up reading in the month of December, and if you enjoyed anything, if you had any 5 stars, if you had any books that didn't hit that and maybe were disappointing. I'd love to know how your guys' month went. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up, and if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an Owlette in our flock, and I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys!